How are you? Welcome to another episode of No Huddle Necessary. I am your host, Jeff Barnes, once again bringing you the arguments of our nuts and bolts sports writers and a special caveat, once again, another special guest. So, we're your safe haven this week from election day coverage. We know everything is going, stress everybody out, stressing over this whole election. Well, we're here to kind of talk some football and take your mind off of that for about give or take 59 more minutes. So, with that being said, enough staring at me. Let's start the show. First guest I'm going to bring in is, of course, one of the most famous names in nuts and bolts sports. We're talking about Mr. Keith Richards, and that's right, not that Keith Richards. Keith,
so
welcome back into the room.
Is tonight going off the popular vote for the win or the electoral college? I'm just trying to be prepared.
According to that piece of paper in Philadelphia called the U.S. Constitution, it is electoral college or bust. Okay, so therefore somebody's got to win, and this is the ultimate game of Survivor this week. But like I said, we're skipping that part because we're talking football tonight on this show. So enough of that. We had our fun with that. We're going to get on with the show. We're going to bring in, unfortunately, his team is in first place right now. And so I got to bring him in right now. We're talking about our prodigy, Thomas Brown. Thomas, welcome back.
How we doing, everybody? Feels good, relatively, to be number one.
I'm deducting points already. I see that shirt. All right, I'll tell you right now, I'm deducting points already.
So I got another question. So my 7-year-old is the best 7-year-old in the house. She's also the only one. So she celebrate being in first place?
Yes, she should. Yes, she should. No matter how we got there, it still stays the same. Number one is number one.
Well, we got our two writers in. Let's bring in our special guest. We're talking about John Meyer, who is a Kansas City Chiefs connoisseur. We're talking Kansas City sports with John Meyer. John Meyer, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on.
Boo.
Well, you hear the rivalry, the AFC West rivalry going on there. I guess you can call this rivalry week because if you look at the diagonals,
it's not a rivalry.
It's division opponents.
Well, you have to win every 10 games or so to make it a rivalry.
That's true. Although when I was much younger, it pretty much was. The Broncos and Chiefs were a game to watch twice a year.
Yeah.
So. But that's back in the Elway and Steve DeBerg days, and you had a whole lot of guys on those teams that were some tough guys, including one Neil Smith and Eric Thomas. So, yeah.
We don't talk about Neil Smith. He get a couple Super Bowl rings.
Well,
oh, goodness.
I've been kicking it around for a while. Let's get some football talk going, guys. So, you know what? Let's get this first quarter going. All right, so the talk of the town has been Tom Brady and the Bucs. Drew Brees and the Saints have been hanging in there trying to reclaim the South. Both of those teams survived some very close games this week. You know, nobody thought everything was going to be a blowout on Monday night. The Bucs had to fight past the lowly New York Giants. Okay, if it wasn't for a late Danny Dimes throw on the 2-point conversion, all right, they could have lost that game in overtime. All right, so you guys are going to tell me these teams meet up on Sunday night. Who you got? So I'm going to push our Rumble writers to the side because we're going to let the guests kick this one off. So John's going to start this conversation off.
Well, when I got this question, I immediately, thought Tampa Bay, and then I started over researching this topic and trying to find a way how New Orleans is going to win this game. They have a great balanced offense even without Michael Thomas. Alvin Kamara is on an all-pro type of run here, trying to be the best running back in all of football. And the defense isn't bad, especially against the run. They're giving up only 91 yards a game, but they give up a ton of points. And the weapons that Tom Brady just has at his disposal now are just great. And with AB being active this week, throw in Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette in that running game. you already have Gronk. It looks like Chris Godwin might be available. He's 50-50 right now. I know Monty thinks that Mike Evans is as soft as Sharman, but he had a monster game last week, and Tom Brady just has so much going for them. You throw in that defense, which is another top 7 defense total, top 3 when giving up points. There's not a much better football team in the NFC than Tampa Bay. And the stat that really threw me over the edge in this one was that Tom Brady, since taking over in 2001 as a starting quarterback, has not lost multiple division games to the same opponent in any season. The closest it came was outside the regular season when he lost to New York, both in the regular season and the postseason in 2010. But he just doesn't lose games to divisional opponents more than once. And giving up that week 1 game there in New Orleans, I don't see there's any way that he gives up this matchup here. And I have Tampa Bay. I think it might be pretty close. I'm thinking 31-27, maybe 34-30, something like that. But I have Tampa all the way in this one.
All right, way to start us off. All right, so since we already got the AFC West in the house, let's bring in Keith. Keith, come on in.
All right. So at the end of the day, I think the Bucs are going to be the better team. They're currently favored on the ESPN Football Power Index at 64.9%. But I got to go with the upset. I think the Saints are going to find a way to pull this out. It is true that Tom Brady has never lost multiple division games in a year, but we're talking about Drew Brees and not Mark Sanchez. There are just some still little nuances with that Bucs team that they're still ironing out, mainly the communication between wide receivers and Tom Brady. They're not terrible by any means. They're one of the best offensive teams in the NFL. They're one of the best defensive teams in the NFL. But when you bring back 2 weapons at the same time, and I guess Chris Godwin might be coming back, and you bring in another weapon in Antonio Brown, there's just going to be some miscommunication issues there on top of what they've already had. I mean, they look really good because they are a loaded team, but you can tell that the communication on some of these throws is just not there between Tom Brady and Mike Evans or Scotty Miller or Mickens or whoever it might be. And really, I think the Saints team has been a little overlooked. They're not the best team in the league by any means. They're far from the worst team. I mean, Michael Thomas has barely played at all this year. Drew Brees can throw more than 5 yards down the field, by the way. Michael Thomas has barely played at all. Emmanuel Sanders has been injured as well. They've only had Kamara, and they are still 5-2. Even in the 2 losses, they've been competitive in every game that they lost. I know conventional wisdom says the Bucs are going to win this game, but I think getting Michael Thomas back and the chemistry that Drew Brees and Michael Thomas already have is going to be a huge boost to the offense. And I'm picking the Saints 34-30.
Wow, you throw it into prediction. Okay, all right. Feeling your gangster on that one. All right. Eagles in the house, everybody. Let's calm down here. We got the Eagles coming in here. All right.
Oh, man. Okay, so, by the way, I just want to go off the rails with the Saints for a little bit. Can they have I haven't seen the Saints have a convincing win in my eyes. And what's not looking pretty well is that their defense is not the same. Not getting to the quarterback. That's even with Cameron Jordan on their front 7, with DeMario Davis man in the middle linebacker spot. Their corners are not doing too great in terms of coverage. So you're allowing a lot of points and a lot of yards, which everybody loves. Michael Thomas, he's practicing, but he's not playing, as the case last week. He's been practicing and just won't play. I don't know what's going on with that. And the Saints, the problem having with them is even with them winning, they're not showing you why they're one of the best teams in the NFC. Okay, You go to Chicago this past Sunday, and they go to overtime to beat them. All right. Last Monday night, we saw the same Chicago team get bulldozed by the Rams. Okay, and the Rams, I firmly believe the Rams are not better than the Saints. Okay, so for that game to be so close, that puts in the perspective for me. And then the game for that, you got you go toe to toe with Teddy Bridgewater at home, and that game was won 27-24. So it just puts you in the perspective about how the defense is playing so far. They're allowing more yards in Tampa Bay right now with 348 and 257.4 against the pass. And they're allowing close to 100 yards in the running game too. So you're talking about a defense that's struggling to get people off the field and struggling to stop good offenses. And even average offenses like Chicago and Carolina to a degree. And then you have Tampa Bay, who I firmly believe that this past Monday night they were looking past the Giants, which is why the game was what it was. So I wasn't surprised at the result. But they have Antonio Brown coming back, but I think, believe it or not, they're going to use him to a degree that nobody's expect. Hear me out. So Antonio Brown, he's coming back off suspension, hasn't played a single snap of football in over a year. Okay. Now, I'm pretty sure Tom Brady's paying attention to that. I'm pretty sure the Saints are paying attention to that. And they're like, okay, he's probably going to be a major factor. I like to make a huge spoiler for you guys, okay? Antonio Brown will get 5 catches. 5 catches. But those catches will be on pivotal third downs, okay? He'll connect with Brady, and he'll have 1 touchdown at the 1-yard line, okay? And the reason why I'm making this prediction is because what Brady likes to do is he likes to go with what is comfortable to him. So, Mike Evans, he's feeling pretty comfortable. Gronk, now that O.J. Howard is out for the year, he's feeling pretty comfortable with his tight end right now. Okay, he feels very comfortable handing off to Ronald Jones, or their nickname for him is Rojo. And then you got Leonard Fournette, who's making sure that they can get some yardage themselves. So we're talking about a passing attack, running attack that has no problem getting their fair share of yardage and fair share of points. And their defense is pretty great as well. So their whole Carlton Davis, I think Carlton Davis is legit. And you can't go wrong with their defense. So they're going to get Reed. He's going to feel it.
You're getting buzzed on the first topic. Come on, first quarter.
I know.
Oh, my goodness. What is that? That's not the way to start off the show, Thomas. I tell you, get a little excited. The Eagles get in the first place. You're going over in the first quarter. Oh, my goodness. Oh, man. Well, good points, but still.
I gotcha.
Yeah. Wrong. So, all valid points. Back to that point about Tom Brady not losing to the same team in the same year twice. I think Rex Ryan and those green and white Jets that he lost to in the regular season and in the playoffs would have something to say about that. But it's a very interesting matchup because, yes, they did beat them week 1. They could beat them again this week. They might have Tampa Bay's number. Even with their remember, they do get AB on the field, but there will not be any Chris Godwin. So addition by subtraction. So that's going to be an interesting thing. But yeah, I'm intrigued by that matchup. I like the answers though. But it's time to move on. Second quarter. With all of the catastrophes that 2020 has given us, the one good thing it has given us is the year of the young QB. Whether you're talking about Burrow, whether you're talking about Herbert, whether you're talking about Tua, whether you're talking about Kyler Murray, Drew Lock, or even Kyle Allen up in Buffalo, all of these young quarterbacks have kind of staked their claims and shown that they are truly worth being the number one guy for those franchises. The question for you guys is, although they've proven that point, which ones are going to be elite? Which ones do you think are going to fade back into obscurity? So we're going to start this one off with the guy that just got buzzed to end the first quarter. So Thomas, tell us how you feel about this one.
Man, so where do I start? So firmly, I would like to say that I am becoming a huge fan week by week of Joe Burrow. I think he's a guy that's going to end up being elite for this Bengals squad going forward. He is working with not a great offensive line. They just beat up Tennessee pretty well this past Sunday. And this is with a terrible defense that can't stop cold. An offensive line that won't protect him. He's running for his life. Kind of reminding you of Russell Wilson. And he's starting to come up with different connections. Now, although it's offsetting AJ Green, sadly, he's having a connection with T. Higgins, which is also his fellow rookie mate as well. And then you also have Tyler Boyd, who's also getting his fair share. So these guys are getting the ball from Burrow. Burrow is delivering game after game with 300 plus passing yards. He's taking very good care of the football. Now the thing is that it'll be interesting to see how he is against top defenses. You saw how he struggled against Baltimore early in the season. They got Pittsburgh coming up fairly soon. So it'll be interesting to see how he is when the tough gets a little bit tough. But even still, he's delivered time and time again and helped the Bengals stay relatively afloat. Not for a division, of course, but to keep people talking about the Bengals. So I would say Burrow is one of the guys that will be elite for me. And believe it or not, I'm not really a fan of oh boy. I would say Herbert right now. I think he has a lot to work with, and it's working against him. And even though he's playing well right now, I don't think that will maintain. And I think going forward, he'll start getting the Phillip Rivers treatment where the front office thinks everything's fine because he's still bringing on the stats and bringing everything to the table. So they won't do anything to help him. So I would say Herbert going down the line is dwindling down. He'll enter that Phillip Rivers territory. We think he's good, top 10 maybe, but definitely not in the elite quarterback category.
All right. So which one's going to fade? You got 30 seconds to make your point. Which one's going to be the one that falls back?
Herbert. I think Herbert got. I think he just has so many things working against him. They just traded Desmond King, so now their secondary is not helping him as well. He needs a good defense, and his offensive line is not helping him. So I think over time you'll start seeing Herbert being affected by that.
All right, John, come on in. Tell us how you feel about this one.
I'm just impressed with how much the quarterback position has evolved for young guys. I was looking at some numbers today. Joe Burrow has over 2,200 yards halfway through the season with 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions as a rookie. I know he put up video game numbers at LSU, but to translate that over to the pro game, like they were saying, with no offensive line, he runs around, constantly getting hit, but he gets up and just does it well. Kyler Murray, 1,850 yards with 13-7. Justin Herbert, 1,820 yards with 15-5. Josh Allen with 2,200 yards, 16-5. These numbers translate to 10, 15 years ago were all pro numbers, and these are guys doing it in their first and second, third year for Josh Allen in this. And, that is the position, and that's what it's come to. And to say that any of these guys is going to move into that elite category, which I have a problem with how many people are trying to put guys in elite as an elite quarterback. There's 3 of them in the game: Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers. Are any of these guys going to get to that level? And I think there's 2 that could probably do it. Joe Burrow being one of them. Just the kid looks like a football player. He looks like a leader. The problem is he plays in the best division in football against 2 really good defenses, 4 games a year in Baltimore and Pittsburgh. He also has a couple of young quarterbacks in Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield over there in Cleveland that he's competing against year in and year out. The other one I think who has a chance to be elite is Kyler Murray. The kid reminds me of Russell Wilson so much. And I came to this conclusion today that baseball translates so well to the NFL game. You look at Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, the way they slide just so naturally. It's a gifted thing that I think they learned on the baseball field. And then the multiple arm angles that you're seeing these guys release from. You'll see Patrick Mahomes do it one week. You'll see Russell Wilson do it the next week. You'll see Kyler Murray follow that real quickly. I just think the talent there. Then you throw the legs that Kyler Murray has there. I think he's quicker than Lamar Jackson when I watch him on film. I think he has the ability to take the next step if Cliff Kingsbury and the brass there in Arizona can field the team. And I've just been surprised with the move they've made from year 1 to year 2 in that. The one that I see dropping off, and I tried to sing him a lot of praise this last offseason, is Drew Lock. I know injuries are playing into this, but he's way too much of a gunslinger, in my opinion. I think we've seen Josh Allen's ceiling, and that's 4,000 yards and 30 TDs and 12 interceptions. But that's QB1 in the NFL, so you'll take that. But Drew Lock, I see him fading. John Elway just does not have good luck drafting quarterbacks, and you seeing Drew Lock kind of do that at Missouri as well, where he tried to fit too many tight windows, and it cost him. You see it cost him a game here a couple weeks ago against Kansas City where he just was throwing it up to no receivers, and turnovers. You just can't have them in today's NFL. So I see Kyler and Joe Burrow moving to the possibility of elite quarterbacks. The jury's still out on that, and I see Drew Lock just fading off and not being a starting NFL quarterback for more than a couple seasons.
All right. Way to brighten the fire. All right. Keith, close this one out.
All right. So when I think of elite quarterback, I think there has to be 3 elements to it. You have to have the numbers, because you can't be in any elite conversation if you don't have the numbers whatsoever. You have to have playoff success and win at least 1 Super Bowl. And of that list, there's only 2 players that I think will have great numbers, could have playoff success, could win a Super Bowl. And for me, that's Joe Burrow and Kyler Murray. Joe Burrow, you might think of the division that he plays in, but when you look at what he's done with how little talent that team really has, especially having 0 offensive line, you just get kind of salivating thinking of what he would be able to do if they gave him a decent offensive line, if they surrounded him with a good core receivers, and if he had consistent running back play and a good defense. I mean, what he's doing right now on that team that everyone expected to be one of the worst team in the league, like Jets, bad, and he's had them competitive in almost every game that they played. It's just hard to not think that if they put some pieces around him that he won't have the potential to be even better than he already is now. And he's not elite right now. No, it's his rookie season, but he is better than what people expected him to be in his first year. And I would imagine that he's only going to get better. The one thing that scares me about him is that offensive line. It really makes me think of Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck looked really good coming out of college as well. They never put an offensive line around him, and he's out of the league now. So it's imperative that they put an offensive line around him. If they do and put some weapons around him, I think he has a good chance. Even in the division that he plays, Brendan Roethlisberger is not going to be there very long. Lamar Jackson, as much as I love him, I think has hit his ceiling. He doesn't play well against good teams, and Baker Mayfield is Baker Mayfield. In 3 years, Joe Burrow could be the best quarterback in that position if they draft well and go through free agency well. And Kyler Murray is just, what can you not say about him? He's got the arm talent. He doesn't make an overabundance of stupid plays. He can run, but he looks to pass before he runs. And when he does run, there's few players in the NFL that can tackle him in the open field. I know one of the concerns about him coming out of college was his size. He is built like Russell Wilson, but a lot like Russell Wilson, he doesn't take a lot of big hits. He slides when he needs to. He gets out of bounds when he needs to. I mean, he doesn't necessarily avoid contact, but he knows how to minimize the contact when he's running to be effective for his team so that he's behind center and not on the sideline. And that's another player that you would think is in kind of a tough division. I mean, they have to play Russell Wilson, Jared Goff. I would say Jimmy Garoppolo, but he's not healthy ever. But it's another situation that if you put people around him, keep him safe, he has not just the talent, but the smarts to take that team very far. As for quarterbacks I think will fade, I think it's too early to say what Tua is going to do. He's only played one game. The defense was dominant in that game. We just don't know. There's not enough to say whether he's going to be good or bad. But if you look at the other three, Herbert, Locke, and Allen, just by virtue of Herbert and Locke playing in the AFC West and Allen being in an AFC.
Unsportsmanlike conduct, 15 yards.
Oh, man. What is it with tonight? The election slowing people down. We've never had two people get buzzed.
We got a lot
in one night, but more or less in the first two quarters, back-to-back quarters, we were getting buzzed. I'm a little concerned about you guys tonight. Really. So, for real. All right, so those are all great arguments, and the points are reflecting that. I'm not giving you all any hints what your points are right now, but overall, there's some good arguments. And when you look at that group of quarterbacks, they're all playing well. You know, yes, it is a small sample size for Tua. I don't beat up Drew Lock as much as people do. And the reason being is that team is still young. It's still in flux. The offensive line is still being built. They're still bouncing Dalton Reisner around the offensive line. We saw the deal that happened with Garrett Bowles. You know, so there's still a lot going on in Denver. All right. So, and of course, he has a defensive coach who's not exactly putting a great defense together. So, with that being said, you know, Denver's still building. I think you've seen almost the ceiling for a Josh Allen. And that's just my opinion as an evaluator. But like I said, here's a guy I didn't have that big first-round grade on when he came out. And he played very well at the beginning of the season, but you've seen him fall from that big high, and he's starting to plateau. So I think we're starting to see what Josh Allen is. But overall, it's a great argument. So with that being said, we reached the midway point of the show. And we're going to have a bit of a little break for a commercial. So everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back. The Team Nuts and Bolts Sports Store is officially open. Log on to www.teamnbsmerch.com and get your t-shirts, hoodies, polos, all sizes available. Once again, log on to teamnbsmerch.com. Get yours today. And we are back. ready for a second half of action. And once again, this John. I thought it was somebody else chiming in on the chat there. Okay, he's about to give him a little love. All right, so we're about to head into the third quarter. Show's moving right along. We just talked about a bunch of young quarterbacks. We're going to talk about another one in the next quarter. So let's get that started right now. All right, so every draft pundit is talking about this year's quarterback that's going to be the top quarterback on the market is Trevor Lawrence. They've been saying that for the past 2 years. All right, with that being said, though, Trevor has now missed one game and is going to miss a second game after his COVID-19 diagnosis. That second game is against the fifth-ranked Irish of Notre Dame, who are undefeated at this point, and this year they're playing in the ACC. So this is an even bigger matchup for Clemson because this now has conference implications for them. All right, so everybody's predicting that, yes, no matter who wins or loses this game, these two teams will face each other in the conference title game, but it is important. They're both ranked. Clemson's number 1, Notre Dame's number 5. I believe at one point they were number 4. So, with that being said, can Notre Dame take advantage of Clemson without their leader? All right, so Keith, you're the only one that has to start the round off, so this one is yours. Start us off.
I think they can. For reasons beyond me, Clemson is still the overwhelming favorite in this game, over 60-some% in the ESPN Football Power Index. But if you look at, we only have one recent sample of Clemson without Trevor Lawrence, and that was last week against Boston College, an unranked team. I'm not going to pretend I know a lot about Boston College. I don't, but their record says they're 4-3 and 3-3 in the conference, and they won by 6 points. I think Clemson will have the most talented player on the field in Etienne, but I don't think they can play the same way they did against Boston College last week and expect to beat the undefeated number 5 ranked team in college football. They leaned heavily on NTN in that Boston College game. They're going to have to do that again. But I don't see Jess Etienne being able to, by himself, overcome the number 5 team in the league, or not the league, in the country. I think they'll be able to keep it close because they are a deep team, but Trevor Lawrence is what drives that team, and I don't think they get it done against Notre Dame this weekend.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff. Thomas, come on in. Yeah. Thomas, you there?
You good?
Can you hear me?
Okay. I think I'm sensing a little sound. Go ahead.
You're on, Thomas.
Okay. All right. Cool. Here we go. A little bit of sound issue there. But I firmly believe that in college football we tend to forget about what truly matters the most. And to me personally, we talk about the advantages that it takes when it comes to preparing these guys for battle. When it comes to big time games such as this, and I believe that goes to coaching. And if you were to ask me, if I were to take Dabo Sweeney against any opponent that Clemson goes up against, his name is not Nick Saban, I'm going to take Dabo Sweeney. I just think that the way that he's going to prepare these guys to play, they're going to play hard, especially knowing the fact that they're back against the wall, knowing that a lot of people are counting them out because Trevor Lawrence isn't playing and they think that Trevor is the reason why that they're winning the way they are, and they're beating people up the way they are. They still have Etienne, who I think, believe it or not, is going to be very impactful in the running game. And then even still, despite it being Boston College, the fact that they were able to come back on them and beat them, I think it was very much more convincing than people want to give it credit for, because they were supposed to be down in the water. The game was supposed to be over. It was supposed to be a shutout, and we all would have understood. Trevor, everybody, he's basically for the team. They can't play without a leader. We totally would have understood. But they came back and beat him. And I think they're going to lead that same type of a momentum carrying into this game. This is going to be, we're talking about weather. This is going to be a fair weather game for Clemson. So I would expect for them to throw the ball a little bit and be more effective in the run. I think that's going to catch Notre Dame off guard, and it's going to cause Clemson to get the win.
All right. John, you get to break this up here. Your turn.
I like this matchup. Two really good teams. The fact that it's in South Bend and Notre Dame has a really good offense with Ian Book and Kyron Williams. Sibo Flimster might be my favorite name in all of college football. He's a really good change of pace back that Notre Dame has. But the matter of the fact is that Clemson, even down 18, needed that close game against BC to take them where they need to be. I think it was first showcasing of DJ Uigalelale. I worked a little bit on trying to pronounce that name this week. How many generational talent NFL first overall pick quarterbacks can go out and you replace it with probably the next generational talent first overall pick 3 years from now? Clemson and Dabo Swinney are just able to do that. Brent Venables, I think, was embarrassed with the way his defense played last week. So I think they are probably going to change some things. Number 10 on the field, Balin Spector, is a stud. He's all over the place. He reminds me a lot of Luke Kuechly, just one of those guys who just has a nose for the football. And if you've watched them on film, that guy is just everywhere. Travis Etienne is the best player in college football, not named Trevor Lawrence, in my opinion. He should win the Heisman. He's setting records in the ACC that have been there for 40 years. I know he plays for an all-world offense, but when they have the weapons that they do, and he's still been able to put up the numbers he has for 4 years, that says a lot to that guy and his character. So I like Clemson for a lot of reasons. Amari Rogers is a good receiver. You'll see be playing on Sundays here in the next couple of years. He has 40 receptions, 6 TDs on the young season. I just don't see them missing a whole lot. As weird as that is to sound, that they're not missing a whole lot with without the best player in college football. They're just talented everywhere. And I see an actual big win. I think 34-17, something like that. I think Clemson goes into South Bend and just shows that they are the best team in college football.
All right. So I'll tell you what, guys, we're talking to a pretty big Notre Dame fan. I think when I got my college acceptance letter, I think the only one I would have jumped for joy over getting my Grambling acceptance letter would have been Notre Dame. I would have dropped everything for that one instead. But I'll tell you what, this is the perfect time to get Clemson. And yes, even with Trevor Lawrence, they struggled versus Syracuse. They were getting beat pretty handily by Boston College before Travis Etienne came alive. So, looking at them coming to South Bend without Trevor Lawrence and the way Notre Dame is playing, it all comes back down to one thing, and that is Ian Book. Notre Dame has never won a big game with Ian Book. They haven't. Ian Book is just not built that way. And if it relies on him to do it, which it will, because they have seen Notre Dame's running game, they know they can't let Notre Dame get going on the ground. They're going to have to put this on the shoulders of Ian Book. So I expect Clemson to take the run away. Question is, can Ian Book do it? I don't think so. I've watched Ian Book now for 5 years, and some guys just have it, and some guys don't. And when it came to it factor, it skipped his address. So, as a Notre Dame fan, it pains me to say they will have a loss this week. And it's sad because much as I would love for them to get that big win versus Clemson, I know it's going to come down to that 4-letter name, Ian Book. And unfortunately, I do not have faith in Ian Book. Just is every time you try to build a little, he shows you why you shouldn't. So I think this weekend he will once again show me why I should not have faith in Ian Book. Well, what can I say? It's that time of the night. It's time to throw your fours up. It is time for the fourth quarter. So I'll tell you what, rookie quarterback has been a running theme tonight, because now when we talk about fourth quarter, we're talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Minshew mania has been a thing. But this week, the Jacksonville Jaguars have said they're going to turn their eyes to their rookie quarterback out of Oregon State, Jacob Luton, who was not exactly one of your top 10 ranked quarterbacks in this draft. If you had him in your top 10, you don't know what you were talking about. So Jacob Luton comes in. Minshew's not going to start this week. Is Minshew mania officially over? Because remember, that was a big thing when he took over for Nick Foles getting hurt. He won a couple of games. He was hot for a while. They were calling his college coach at Washington State. He said the kid could throw a mile. And every time he started doing it, became Ryan Fitzpatrick Jr. Win a few, lose a few. Win a few, lose a few. So have they finally fallen out of love with Minshew? So I'm not going to start this one off with points. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to mix this up. I'm going to mold this like a piece of clay as we go through the fourth quarter. So, Thomas, start us off.
Okay. Man. How have they done with Minshew? Oh, boy. He has really helped himself in terms of his performance over the past few games or so. However, I don't think that losses are totally all on him. I think it doesn't help that his defense, the only time they're off the field is when the other team scores. They don't have the best offensive line in the world, so he's definitely feeling the turf whenever he feels like it. He's basically testing the turf for those to take care of it. It's like, you know what, the turf feels a little bit rough over here. Can you patch that up a little bit? That's how much he's hit the ground. Okay. And Jacksonville has always been kind of an inferior team, especially in divisions such as the AFC South. You just look at some of these losses. They're losing close games, and they're losing blowouts, and they're all losses nevertheless. But you have teams like Tennessee. You lose to them, but that game was close. But then you get blown out by the Dolphins. Now, granted, Dolphins are playing fairly well. You saw what they did to Jared Goff with 4 turnovers in the first half. So you understand that. But Bengals lose to them. Texans, they fired their head coach in the quarter of the season. You lose to Detroit. Detroit, they're not very talented. They're still relying heavily on Matthew Stafford, who just got added to the COVID list, by the way. And then just not too long ago, they went to not San Diego, Los Angeles. And they contested it for a little bit. And then they just gave the game away because of Minshew. With that being said, like I said, I just don't think there's a lot of pieces around Minshew to really get to see where how he is. So we'll see what happens next year, see what the front office thinks of him. But I don't think that this season should be fair towards him in terms of how we should view Gardner Minshew. So I don't think I wouldn't get rid of him or turn away from the show, but I'll start paying attention very closely for sure.
All right. John, come on in.
Who is Jake Luton or Luton? That was my question going into this. A kid who went from being an Idaho Vandal to Ventura College to Oregon State, exhausted 6 years of eligibility in the NCAA to become a 6th or 7th round pick. He's not the answer. The writing on the wall in Jacksonville that Minshew Mania is over. It's a tank job there in Jacksonville, in my opinion. And when you have the next 9 weeks looking like this, Houston at Green Bay, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, at Minnesota, Tennessee, at Baltimore, Chicago, and then finishing up the season at Indy, 1-15 is looking like it's going to be the record. And when you have that low-hanging fruit of Trevor Lawrence as that number 1 overall pick out there, why not go for it? That is a franchise-changing quarterback. But 1-15 might not do it this year because the Jets are giving them every reason not to believe that they won't go 0-16. So are you tanking for Justin Fields or Trey Lance? I don't know, but I think what Jacksonville is portraying by choosing Jake Luton over Mike Lennon, at least a serviceable quarterback we know in the NFL, that's what you're telling your fans and the general public of the NFL that you are done for the season. Gardner Minshew hasn't been a bad quarterback in the NFL. 7-12 as a starter on a pretty terrible team the last couple of years. He puts up some numbers. He loves to play the game. He's just one of those fun guys that you can rally behind. I don't know if he sees himself as a number 2 quarterback. Maybe he does. And somebody's going to take a flyer on that. And maybe it is in Jacksonville. Bad teams love backup quarterbacks, so maybe he can be the backup quarterback for some bad teams if Trevor Lawrence is not the guy there in Jacksonville. But I see the writing on the wall with Marone out. It looks like Minshew might be out. Maybe you play some of these guys and see what you can get in return in a late round draft pick for maybe Luton or Gardner Minshew. I don't know what Jacksonville's thinking, but if I were to say anything, I think the time is up for the man with the best stash in all of football in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think the mustache was part of the draw, that and the arm, but everybody has their 5 minutes of fame, and it's 4:59 for in my opinion. All right, Keith, you get to close this one out, brother.
If I'm being honest, I don't really know if the Jaguars were ever truly in love with Gardner Minshew. Not to say that they don't respect him as a quarterback, what he's tried to do on the field for the team, but did anyone really think he was going to be the next Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or Drew Brees? If they did, I would question their sanity. And that's not to say he's a bad football player. He is a fun football player to watch. He's got the best mustache in the game. Reminds me a lot of Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite. But I've never really personally seen anything from him that will lead me to say that any team is going to keep him around and pour $20+ million a year into him and try to build a team around him. I mean, he does remind me a lot of a Ryan Fitzpatrick, where Ryan Fitzpatrick, he'll win you games, but he'll lose you twice as many. And that's kind of the feeling that you get with Gardner Minshew as well. I mean, statistically this season, he really hasn't been bad. His completion percentage has gone up, still under 70%, but it's gone up from the year before. He's on track to throw more touchdowns than he did the year before, but he's also on track to throw more interceptions than he did the year before. And if I could make a bold prediction, I think that the Jaguars are tanking from Trevor Lawrence because I don't think there's any chance in HE double hockey that Trevor Lawrence would allow himself to be drafted by the Jets because there's no way they're winning any games this season. But I don't think there's any way that he's going to play for them. I think we see a scenario where he pulls an Eli Manning and he just flat out tells the team he's not going to play for them. They don't waste his time drafting him, and who falls right in line right behind them? Jacksonville Jaguars. So the fact that they skipped over Mike Glennon, who in itself is not a great quarterback, but he's going to win you more games than Jacob Luton will, tells me that they have a plan in mind. They think they have a better shot at Trevor Lawrence than what they're given, and I think that's what they're doing moving forward. They never really wanted Gardner Minshew as their franchise quarterback. Either they were going to suck and get a quarterback in the draft or get lucky and the hot quarterback comes up for free agency. I don't think Gardner Minshew was ever a plan to begin with.
All right, good closing arguments, fellas. And listen, I know Jacob Luton. I had him graded as a late round quarterback, more of a kind of project player. The fact they're throwing him to the Wolves is something not very good for Jacob Luton. So, this is going to be one of those things. It's going to get ugly in Jacksonville. It's going to be hard to tank for Trevor because, yes, the Jets they're not trying to tank. They're just that bad. So that's going to be one of those things. But there are some good quarterbacks behind them. I mean, you may luck out and get Fields. Lance, I'm not finished evaluating him, but I don't have a first round grade on him just yet. I like him. I just don't have a first round grade on him. So if somebody takes him that high, it's because the need for quarterback always pushes a guy up a board. But with that being said, fourth quarter is over. There is no tie this week, so we do have a winner. So let's give it the graphic. All right, so rule of the house is always, in the words of Ricky Bobby, if you ain't first, you're last. So whoever gets sent to the back first, it may not always be the lowest scorer, but it is definitely an Eagles fan. So the Eagles fan is getting out of here this week. All right. So, all right. It's that moment in time. We're about to announce a winner. And it's look at this. It's the two AFC West guys. So top of the division versus the bottom. So well, I think the Chargers are below you guys, right? So it wouldn't really be the bottom. So nevertheless, arguments are tough. You came back with some strong points in the fourth quarter to make it extremely close to down to 1 point. But at the end of the day, guess what? Our guests have taken it 2 weeks in a row. John takes it. So Keith is going to the back. John, you have 3 minutes of unadulterated FaceTime to talk about whatever you want to your heart's content, or I buzz you out.
Well, thanks a lot, Jeff. I want to just thank you for the opportunity. It's a dream come true to get an opportunity like this, and I didn't take it lightly. I want to thank Keith and Thomas for giving me a run tonight. It was it felt tough here backstage. I want to shout out to my boy Monty Perez for hooking us up and just getting me on this path and into sports media. It's been a journey. And I also want to thank my wife tonight for watching our 11-week-old son, Jude. But my FaceTime's going to my boy here in Kansas City, Eric Bieniemy. It's a crying shame that Eric Bieniemy did not get a head coaching job this offseason. I will reluctantly give a pass to the Browns. I will give a pass to the Giants. I will give a pass to the Panthers for hiring new head coaches in those positions. But I say shame on you to the New York Jets for hiring Adam Gase and giving him another shot. I say shame on you, Washington football team. I say shame on you, Dallas Cowboys, for these retread hires in the NFL that just don't work so many times. So Jerry Jones, Dan Snyder, shame on you. Eric Bieniemy has interviewed for 11 head coaching jobs over the last 2 seasons, and there's no reason why he shouldn't have received one of those jobs. You have 3 African-American head coaches here in 2020. Eric Bieniemy should definitely be the 4th there. It's a total farce. 2 years ago, he was the offensive coordinator for the most prolific offense in NFL history. He won a Super Bowl as offensive coordinator a year ago. He's a former All-American. He's been in coaching for 17 years. Somebody needs to give this guy a job. I feel happy as a Kansas City Chiefs fan that he is our offensive coordinator, but I feel bad as a human being, as a man of faith, as just somebody who's trying to be an advocate for change in this world, that Eric Bieniemy doesn't have a job. So somebody out there, you Houston, you Atlanta, you guys are on the clock with giving this guy a job.
Good stuff. And I remember when he was a running back at Colorado. He was he actually embarrassed my beloved Irish at the Orange Bowl one year. I'll never forget that one. But yeah, Eric Bieniemy, well, he deserves it. I don't know what the hang up is with him. I don't know whose daughter he has to marry to finally get that opportunity, but they need to make that happen.
Jerry Jones.
Listen, I will take him over the cluster that I'm seeing in Dallas right now. I've never seen a whole year where something so bad has gone wrong with a team, from injuries to just bad luck to bad coaching to bad play, all of that combined in one team in Dallas. It's hard to watch. 2010 Cowboys had some injuries and bad luck, and it wasn't that bad. 2015, those Cowboys teams that were bad when Romo went down twice were not that bad. This team, the stink coming off the field the last few weeks, especially when Dak went down. Whew. There are cemeteries that smell like potpourri compared to how they're playing right now. So, but I've given them way too much airtime because Dallas didn't deserve it. So there's the reason why we don't have any Cowboy topics on this show right now. And unfortunately, I may have to drag them in because I've been hearing way too much talk on ESPN the stink is coming off those topics worse than what they're talking. So I'm going to have to get you guys to talk about it before I give my 2 cents about it next week. So I will throw that topic in, unfortunately. So if you're a Cowboy fan, you'll want to listen to hear what we're talking about. We're going to do it. I have no shame. I have no shame in bashing my team, especially when they righteously deserve it. So, but yeah, I mean, this year has been an anomaly. We've seen teams that shouldn't lose. We've teams that shouldn't win. So and let's give a round of applause to Matthew Stafford to finding his way on a COVID list twice in one season. So I mean, what else? 2020, what else can go wrong?
As a betting man, 2020 has been an interesting year.
Yeah. I'm just waiting to see what comes up on the board for December.
Yes, it has.
Because as far as November, who had a week-long election for November? Anybody else had that? That's pretty much where we're going. It's a week-long election.
Yeah. No, not in my plans.
Yeah, no.
No one has time for that.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, reality is dragging it into our lives. Yeah, thank you, 2020, for another one. Whew. Yeah, steaming nugget of coal right there, folks. Yeah, so I'm going to send you guys to the back to close this show out. So just hang tight. All right, so hopefully we've given you a lot of entertainment for the past hour. You can go back to the election coverage, no matter what side of the equation you're on with that. Good luck to us in the future as we hope to have a winner sometime soon. Hopefully this doesn't really take a week for this to end. But overall, once again, I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back next week with more. Also, stay tuned for Inside the Film Room. There'll be another breakdown coming this week. So I haven't put it out there what the subject of this week's breakdown is, but it's coming. It's coming. So I am your host, Jeff Barnes, once again for No Huddle Necessary. Tune in next week, Wednesday, 9 o'clock for another episode. God bless and good night. The Team Nuts and Bolts Sports Store is officially open. Log on to www.teamnbsmerch.com and get your t-shirts, hoodies, polos, all sizes available. Once again, log on to teamnbsmerch.com.